Look! Brothers of Rohan!
There was an older tale.
Arise!
When does this idea for animation, for continuation of Lord of the Rings, showing something that was previously come up in your head?
Didn't come up in my head, actually. It was Warner's came back to Fran, Peter and myself in 2019. And it was really, I think, we had no concept of going back into live action. Like that was not something we were thinking about doing. But Warner's was keen to see if we had any interest in keeping the storytelling going, so to speak. They approached us, they asked us, would we be interested in doing an animated film? And actually, Peter was really open to it. I was a little bit more skeptical, actually, to believe it or not. Peter was really open to it. I think he has a great love of animation. He understood that Professor Tolkien himself would have only ever imagined an animated film, I think. Or maybe he would have been able to imagine a live action film, but certainly not in the way that you could do it these days. The very first films that were ever made were animated films. So
yes, I saw the first one, of course,
yeah,
and it still looks amazing. The animation,
it's very beautiful.
It aged very well, I think.
It's a beautiful piece of animation.
Yes, but why were you so skeptic?
I was skeptic because I think for myself, I needed to understand what form of animation it was going to take so that then I could kind of imagine which story would fit with it. So until we landed on the form of animation, I think I was struggling a little bit to kind of understand which story we would tell or why we would tell it. Yeah.
So how many stories were you in your head before
It's quite a few.
This one?
There's quite a few, let me tell you. There's quite a few. There are. I mean, that is the great gift of Professor Tolkien, the vastness of his imagination and the mythology that he created. There are a lot of stories left to be told, for sure.
Was there anything that you wanted to do, but this was more perfect for this concept?
I think there's some I'd like to do now that I have a better understanding of anime and how it works. And I feel.
What would you like to do?
There's some that involve particular monsters that I think would work beautifully in anime. I'm not going to give away more than that. I think that what works really well in anime is a standalone story. I do think that's what you would always be looking for. A story that can work in and of itself on its own is very important to tell in anime. There's some interesting characters in there. I don't think they necessarily have to be human. You could tell in anime form. It's what I've learned is it's such a beautiful medium. That painterly quality, that hand-drawn beauty of it is a gift for the world that Professor Tolkien created.
And also, I want to ask you, because on my previous interview, I heard that you're the person responsible for talking to the family of Mr. Lee to approach him again in this animation for a brief moment. Was it hard, and whose idea was it to include him in this story?
It was my idea to include him. Talk to Peter about it, and Peter's instinct, because he and Christopher Lee were very close, and he had an instinct that Sir Christopher would have wanted to do it if he had been alive. He would have 100% wanted to do it. So the reason for him appearing is because he's one of the few characters from the live action films who rightly belongs in this particular story. We know that he does go and occupy Isaac. This is around the time that he goes to Orthanc, and also around the time that he offers himself assistance to the new king of Rohan. So that felt natural. It didn't feel like we were forcing a character in there that didn't need to be there. And so then what happened was we approached Lady Lee, Gita, when she was still alive, and through her agents, through Sir Christopher's agents, and her response was, yes, he would have wanted to do this. But we knew instinctively that we wanted it to be his voice, that the line needed to be based on his actual voice. Because some people, I mean, you know, you can probably find someone out there who could sound very, very like Sir Christopher. You could find a voice-alike actor, for example. But there's just a quality to Christopher Lee that you cannot replicate. You just can't do it. We knew it had to be him.
You said that there was no room for action sequels, but we're having the Hunt for Gollum, so I'm thinking, are you happy that they're going also with this approach, or you like to stay for anime for a longer period of time?
I'd do both if I could. If you interview Kamiyama-san, can you please ask him to make another one? But you can say Philippa said you have to make another one. But I would say I think this has helped us go back to the live action world. Being able to do this was a nice kind of journey back in. It wasn't that full on, okay, now we're back, now we have to revive the trilogies again, and you know, so this was a nice way to do it. It feels like a really organic way back into the storytelling.